Namaste, good afternoon or good morning. Okay. Valerie and Murli. Am I right? Murli?
Yeah.
Okay. Would like to ask Valerie, yes,
Good
and
morning.
Murli. Good morning. From which country are you both? Like Valerie, from where you are?
I'm French.
Yeah,
In
you're
France.
French. And Murli?
I'm from Germany.
Okay, you're from Germany. We have Brittany, then Rue from UK, Jennifer and Brenda. The rest of the people, from which country are you? Brittany and
I'm from
Brenda. Yes, Brenda.
Yeah, I'm Brenda. I don't know if you asked me or Brittany. I'm sorry.
Yes, you only now. You can tell.
Okay, so I'm from the States, but I'm staying here in Ubud, Bali right now.
Which country did you say? Which state?
America. I'm from Washington State.
You're from state. Okay.
Yeah, but right now
I heard something different.
yeah, right now I'm in Bali.
Great. So right now you are with Bali Yoga School. And Jennifer?
Yeah, are so good. Thanks.
So just wanted to know here the countries. Why I asked you the countries? Because my English accent is not that much good. So I don't know whether you understand my English or not. So I was
no.
yeah. So we have from America, US, and we have also from UK, one or two people. So some words which are in English or which I will be not able to pronounce, I will better ask you about those words, the English terms. Okay.
Don't worry, my English accent is not so good too. So
Great. But yeah, English is not here. We have to learn, or neither we have to learn any Sanskrit here. But we have to just understand the concept first. The concept is more important in terms of yoga. Neither I will teach you Sanskrit or nor the English. I do teach philosophy as well. So we will proceed further today. Let me think what we have seen yesterday, what we have studied. You tell me what we have studied yesterday.
We ended, I think, on the spongy bone diagram. Pardon?
Okay. And apart from it, have you started the bone joints as well?
Just trying to get my notes. No, we did. Yes, we looked at connective tissues. I mean, yeah. We looked
And
at
we did started the bone joints.
You're
Yes, Brittany,
absolutely right. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we did bone joints. Sorry, I'm half asleep. Yeah, you're right.
You are in UK and 5:30 are behind in India. I can understand. So it is early
Yeah.
for you.
No excuse, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, thank you.
So we did started with the bone joint. And what are those bone joints? As Brittany will tell now. The first one.
Oh, jeez. So I have that we last spoke to unmovable, semi-movable, and movable bone joints. And we were going to cover movable today, I think, to start.
Okay, so we will be covering movable bone joints today. Synovial bone joints. We will proceed. So what are these unmovable fibers which are being present in our skull? Then semi-movable into our vertebral column in our spine and ribs. That is cartilage. And now movable. So we have different types of movable bone joints. Directly, the third, that movable bone joints are known as synovial bone joints or synovial bone joints. These synovial bone joints are movable bone joints. Where are they present? In every part of our body, apart from the skull and the vertebra. where the cartilage is not present. So these joints, what is the first type of this synovial bone joint? The ball and the socket. Write down ball and socket. What is this ball and socket joint? Where it will be rotating 360 degree. It rotates completely. It moves in all the directions. The ball and the socket joint. The x-axis, y-axis, z-axis in all the directions. So where do you find this ball and socket joint? In your shoulder? Yes. And your hip bone joint. We have Amber as well. Yes. So we have in our shoulder and in our hip bone joint, you will find your ball and socket joint. This joint is, I will repeat, the most important part in your body, this ball and socket joint. Apart from the rest of the joints, the ball and socket joint, you have to focus more during certain asana practices or during certain flow of the asanas here. If your ball and socket joints are not completely open, then the difficult postures, or if the ball and socket joints, the muscles connected to those are not strength, there is no strength in the muscles in your shoulders and pelvic hip, then we cannot even stay in certain postures. Yes, Amber, for a long time.
I understand that the shoulder joint is the most flexible joint in the body, and therefore it's the most liable for injury. Is that why we need to focus more on those joints as a way just to stabilize them and keep them healthy, because they're they're more liable for injury?
Yes, they are more reliable because they can move in all the axes. So they are moving as they move in all the axes. So we have to make sure more bring our focus, like many postures, advanced postures, Natarajasana, you know, Lord Shiva dancing pose, Lord Shiva pose, like where we hold our big toe from behind and when we bring our one arm in front. That posture, we need to open our ball and socket joint from the shoulder. The postures, Dhanurasana. Dhanurasana, you know this posture, the bow pose, when you lie down on your stomach. And that time when you bend your legs, you grab your ankles and big toes. That time you lift your torso and both the legs up. So that time your ball and socket joint should be completely open to do advanced, like the variation of it. Because we need to completely hold our toe, like even in the pigeon pose, even like the full pigeon pose, they completely open, like even in the Padmasana or the lotus pose. Can we do it lotus pose? Can we check how to practice the lotus pose? We cannot do. Some people cannot do the lotus pose. Why? Because the muscles are also tight, but the ball and socket joints are not only open, not only about the muscles. From the root, that root is what? Ball and socket joint in the pelvic is not open. So there is some preparation. There are some preparatory practices to open this. What are those preparatory practices? There are like half butterfly pose, Pavan Muktasana series. You must have studied Pavan Muktasana series 1, series 2, series 3, half butterfly Ardha Tikli Asana, where you bring your leg up and down. So even if a teacher or instructor will tell you, sit in the lotus pose directly, it is not like that. So while preparing our lesson plan in the sequence, we have to first go with the warm-up. That warm-up is nothing but the warm-up of our joint in our whole body. Without that warm-up, we cannot able to perform any asana, neither a pranayama. Even the pranayama has a different preparation. Every asana, everything in the yoga has a preparatory practice. So this is very much important. Apart from the rest, the next I will be writing down the hinge. You know where is the hinge one?
In the
One
elbow and the knee.
Yep, the elbow and the knee. So one axis direction, the hinge joint, like the hinge of the door may open likewise. So in the one axis, again the hinge movement. No, it does not move horizontally. It will get injured in this. Okay, try not to practice like this. This is also hinge movement. Yes. So this is what? The hinge joint, elbow and the knee. The next one, apart from the hinge joint, what else do we have? Pivot. Pivot joint. What does this mean, pivot joint? Where you twist. Pivot joint is what? A twisting movement of your elbow. So the joint between your humerus bone and the ulna bone will make your elbow twist. That is what? Pivot joint. Okay. And also this pivot joint you will find out in your vertebra of your neck. The neck movement. That is what the pivot joint. The twisting movement, whatever we twist, that is what the pivot joint. Then, apart from the pivot joint, we will have the gliding joint. And what are the gliding joints?
The shoulder blade.
Your shoulder blade also may glide, but mostly the gliding joints are found only in our carpals and metacarpals and in between our tarsals and metatarsals. Glide is what? Sliding movement. So these in between carpals, the wrist bones, and in between the metacarpals. So these 5 metacarpals connected to these carpals, this joint is what? The gliding movement. These bones glide where they joint, the wrist and the metacarpals. So it makes the gliding movement. Similarly, in our ankles, gliding motion in between the tarsals and the metatarsals as well. The next is the condyloid joint. Okay, after the gliding one. Condyloid joint. Where will you find this condyloid joint? Or that is similar to the ball and socket, but it does not rotate 360 degree. It will not make you. So condyloid movement, you see this finger. So in between the metacarpal and in between the phalanges. So this joint in between the metacarpal and in between the phalanges, which makes our finger move. So this is what the condyloid movement. When we try to rotate our finger, but it is not completely 360 degrees. You will find out. If anyone have to mute yourself. Victoria, namaste. You need to mute yourself, Victoria. Thank you so much. Yep. Then from this, again, we will have the saddle joint. And the saddle movement. No problem, Victoria. The saddle movement you will find in your thumb, this thumb joint. That is where your thumb is connected to one of your metacarpal. So this is what the saddle joint, where you will move your thumb like in any direction. So saddle joint is an example of your thumb joint, condyloid joint in between your metacarpal and phalangeal joint for the fingers where they connect. Gliding joint you will find out mostly in your carpals and metacarpals where they will connect to each other. They are the joints. and in between tarsals and metatarsals. Pivot joint where in your body will find in your neck and vertebra will make your head to move and rotate. Similarly, the hinge one is what? In your elbow and the knee. Ball and socket will be in your hips and the shoulder. Are all the types of synovial bone joint. That is movable bone joint. Okay, these how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 types of movable bone joints. Have you written these names and with the examples out of it? So we can move further and see how these joints will move our part or the structure of the body. So what are their range and the motion of this joint that we will see. Is this clear? We'll erase it now, okay, everyone? So about this fibrous, cartilaginous, and synovial bone joint, the 3 types of bone joints. Now, the synovial bone joint movement, in what range these joints will move, and what part and which part of the body, and how will it move. So the directional terms of this we will see. The range of motion of the bone joints. So the first range of motion and movement of the bone joint is, what is this range? Known as, the first term known as the flexion movement. Tell me what is the flexion movement, and tell me what is the extension movement. Flexion and extension. Flexion movement of the 2 parts or the 2 joints, where when the angle in between the 2 parts or the 2 joints decrease, that is known as flexion. When the angle between these 2 parts increase, that movement is known as extension. Okay, you have good biceps, Blaze. Okay, I'm not showing the biceps. Please understand the parts and the movement here. So the flexion is to decrease the angle between these 2 joints, but the extension is what? To increase the angle in between these 2 joints. Apart from this, please write it down. If you will just hear, you will forget it. The more you write, the more you remember. Okay. The next one, the first flexion, the second extension. The third, abduction. What is this abduction? Or what is adduction and abduction? That we will see. Number 3 and number 4.
Is abduction when it's away from the body, and abduction is when it's towards the body?
Yeah. So when our parts or the structure will move away from the body, that is abduction. And when, very rightly said, the parts or the structure will move towards the midline of the body, that is adduction. So adduction is when we bring the arm towards the midline, that is adduct. For example, just will tell. And when we bring the arm away, when we bring the part of the body away, like you do this in Warrior 2 postures, when you do it this in Prasarit Padottanasana, or when you do that in many postures like Trikonasana, you first take the distance in between the legs, then move your arms to the side, then you bend. First you do the adduction to move the part away from the midline, then you proceed further. That is what Adduction, when you bring it towards, like you will do in the eagle pose, towards the midline of the body, when you will twist it, your legs, your arms towards the midline, that is what? Abduction movement. Got it? Just giving you an example so that you will be able to know it quickly. In 300 hours, you already know the names of the postures and the practice because you did it in 200. The next, the lateral flexion and lateral extension. Same. So what is the lateral flexion and lateral extension? Of our body. So decreasing the inner angle. So when we decrease the inner angle of our body, and the extension is what? When we lengthen our spine sideways. So when you decrease the inner angle of our body, that is what? Inside towards the midline, that is our lateral flexion. When we increase, when we stretch, lengthen the spine, here outside, that is what? Lateral extension. Lateral means to the side. So when we flex, when we decrease, when we twist inside, lateral flexion. When we stretch outside, lateral extension of our spine. Same. Apart from this, we have circumduction and rotation. So circumduction is like a condyloid joint. We have the next term, circumduction. And the next one, rotation. So this bone joint has the circumduction movement. The circumduction movement will be happening in your digits. Where in your digits? In between your fingers. So that is what? A movement of the condyloid joint. That is nothing but the circumduction movement. Rotation, like a pivot, twisting movement when we rotate around the bone axis. Circumduction is the digit, so that completely from the metacarpal and the phalangeal joint. This is circumduction movement of the fingers. But the rotation, neck rotation movement, and the leg rotation in your ball and socket joints, in your arm, that is rotation movement. But this is what only found in your digits. Digits with your fingers, the toe. The next one, we do have the prone postures or the supine postures. Can you see it here? So first I will erase this. We'll write again above. Number 9, I think. We do also pronation and supine, prone and supine. So pronation and supination postures. So what does this terms and what is the movement when we do prone postures? What are the prone postures? First you tell me what are the, give me the examples of the prone postures.
The prone posture would be like tabletop, and supination would be like shavasana.
Yes, supination will be the shavasana. Give me more examples of the prone postures. The tabletop is the palms facing down. Yes, you are right, but something more when we practice. Is cobra pose a
Cobra, downward facing dog, both, no, both.
then
Baby cobra.
baby cobra, cobra, snake, and bow pose. So whenever we practice makrasana, crocodile pose, the resting position for the prone postures, like we have shavasana, in the supine position, we do when our palms are facing up, that are supine postures. When we practice asana, while palms are facing up, and prone postures, pronation means when our palms are facing down. That's it. You have to remember. In those postures, when we face our palms down, pronation. When in those postures, when we face our palms up, supination or supine posture. So we have just 4 postures in the whole practice we practice. So it's like standing, sitting, supine. When we lie down on the back, we do supine postures. And the prone postures are like when we lie down on our stomach, that time we face our palms down, like in the locust pose, the Shalbhasana as well. There are many. So that is what prone postures. Even the forearm stand is not the prone posture. Vrishikasana as well, prone posture.
Can I just ask a quick question? Just a very quick
Yes.
one. So with something like wheel, chakrasana, would that be pronation or supination because the palms are down?
The chakrasana, see these postures, where we begin the postures. So what is the starting point of that posture? We have to lie down on our back in the chakrasana. Or Urdhva Dhanurasana, we can also practice from the standing one, standing series. The chakrasana, we have to lie down on the back, so it will become the supine postures first.
Thank you.
Yep. The starting one is we start from the supine, but we place our palms next to the ears, and then it is a back bending asana. It is what? A back bending asana. Inversion and eversion, what about this? This inversion is not only I will speak about where our head will be below our waist. Inversion posture is not about only that, but the inversion term I am talking about now, I will write down the inversion and eversion. This is not the direction of our foot, inversion of the foot, and eversion is also the direction of our foot. What is the, when our toe or the sole of the foot, so this is the foot, and when we turn the sole of the foot inside, that is what? Our inversion of the foot. When we turn or move the foot outside, point the toe outside to the lateral side of the body, that is eversion of the foot. Inversion of the foot when we point the toe in towards the midline. Eversion of the foot when we will point it outside away from the midline. So we also have of the foot dorsiflexion and plantarflexion. So this section will be regarding the foot. If I will write dorsiflexion, so our ankle joint will move here in this foot. This ankle joint movement, and plantarflexion. What will be the dorsiflexion movement? If this is your foot, for example, then the dorsiflexion is pointing the toe, pointing the foot in, dorsiflexion. And plantarflexion is stretch, like pointing your toe down completely. That is your plantarflexion of your foot. So this term, why we are writing or why we are studying these terms, so that as a professional yoga teacher, you have to use these terms when you will try to teach the yoga for your students in your studios or in your country. You should know what is the dorsiflexion movement and the plantarflexion, or just can say pointing the toes back or pointing the toes in front here of the foot ankle joint. So these 4: inversion inside, eversion outside, dorsiflexion in, plantarflexion down. To engage the muscles, many postures we need to do practice dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. For example, Paschimottanasana, the forward bend. What we do practice? We do hold our feet, but dorsiflexion and do forward fold, seated forward fold. Plantar flexion, what do you, in which postures? Many postures. Can you tell me one posture? Where do you practice plantar flexion? Where you point your toe?
The upward, I forget the name of the posture. It's in the Ashtanga series, the one where your hands are facing towards you. You're in tabletop, or you can have your feet extended. Oh God, what's it called?
You can also do this in the boat pose, where you can point the
Yeah,
whole simple Navasana.
Yeah.
You can engage your muscles, quads and core as well. Here. Apart from this version, we do have more elevation and depression. We will see about that now. Write down number 15. What is elevation term and what is depression term? To levitate. I want to ask you, can you hear some sound when I write? Like, do you hear some kind of sound when I write?
No, it's fine.
Okay, great. Because it is the window here. And when I write, this window vibrates. Okay. So I'm
We
just
can't
asking
hear
whether, good. I was just asking whether you can hear this noise. Anyway, we have these terms, elevation and depression. To levitate, elevate, draw your hips and shoulders. So elevation is what? About your ball and socket joint, where you have to make sure you draw your hips and shoulder up. And depression is what? When you draw your hips and shoulders down. Elevation to draw hips and shoulders upward, depression to drop your hips and shoulders down, both related with the ball and socket joint movements. Then the next, the protraction and retraction. Protraction and retraction. What is protraction? Draw the scapula forward, or we have the scapula. Tell me, where is the scapula, or what is the scapula?
Is it the shoulder blade?
Yes, the shoulder blade. So this, when we draw the shoulder blade in the front, that is our protraction, and to retract, when we draw the shoulder blade back. The shoulder rotation. When we practice the shoulder rotation to the ball and socket joint, to protract and to retract. Then apart from this, we have the posterior tilt and the anterior tilt, that is related with our pelvic joint. What is this? Write down 2. Posterior tilt and anterior tilt. Posterior tilt of the pelvic joint and anterior tilt of the pelvic joint. Tilting our pelvic when we tuck our tailbone under. So when we posterior tilt, so we have to bring our pelvic back. When we take our pelvic back, our hip, that is the posterior tilt. And the anterior tilt is what? When we bring our pelvic, the hip, in front. That is what? The anterior tilt of the pelvic. See, the pelvic is most important part of your body. We have the pelvic, the most important part of your body. When we bring it at the top, that will become anterior tilt. When we tilt the pelvic at the top towards, and when we tilt it back out to our hip bone joint, that is what posterior. This you need to adjust yourself before you start practicing any asana. So that asana is Samasthiti. That asana, Samasthiti, the most difficult posture in yoga. The most difficult posture in the yoga, Samasthiti, even if you will do and check yourself whether if you are standing straight, erect, in a neutral position of your pelvic, you will identify many mistakes there, whether if it is a posterior tilt or you have to do anterior tilt, whether you have to tuck your tailbone in or out, because our spine, not each and everyone has a neutral spine in one line. So the arrangement of pelvic, why it is important before we practice, so that we can keep our spine in one line. When our pelvic is not only squared or hips are not squared, then we will not be able to keep the rest of the spine as well in one line, and there will be the blockages in the prana where we will do many postures. The prana will not flow in the right way. Where the prana will be blocked, the chakras will be imbalanced. When the chakras will be imbalanced, then our body, the subtle body, will get imbalanced, and we will have a negative effect even after practice of yoga for years and years. So the right technique, the right arrangement of the pelvic, the first important thing you should keep in your mind. Just any asana you do and figure it out whether your hips are squared first. Then the second important, this don't only hear this, you have to write. First is pelvic, you have to make sure. Second is your back and spine. Then you can go and check which muscles you have to engage in certain asanas. But first try to arrange your pelvic and back and spine the second. These 20 terms, whatever we have seen, I think they are enough. And I hope you have got it. So these are the kinds of bone joints and the movement. Any questions you can ask me. Yes, see you if you have a session, break me please. The rest of the people, if you have any questions, you may ask. People from Bali have the session. So got it? Cleared everyone? Thank you so much, Valerie, Victoria.
Thank you so much.
And
Yeah.
so see you. I will end up the meeting now, and we will start tomorrow with the new system.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you.